Open up your MTT. We're going to do completing the square. All right. The first problem that we have, x squared minus 6x plus 10 equals 17. Step 1, we're going to zero pair out the c. So we're going to do minus 10, minus 10. Step 2, we're going to write x squared minus 6x plus a blank line equals, and 17 minus 10 is 7 plus a blank line. Next step, we're going to take half of negative 6, and that's going to be negative 3, and we're going to put it down in the parentheses. Step 3, we're going to take that same half of the x term, negative 3, and we're going to square it, and then we're going to add it to both sides. So negative 3 squared is 9, so we're going to put that 9 here, and we're going to put that 9 here. Now we're going to fill in our parentheses. This is going to be our x, and 7 plus 9 is 16. All right, now we have x minus 3 squared is equal to 16. Step 5, square root both sides. That knocks out the square, so now I have x minus 3 is equal to positive or negative 4. Step 6, write the two equations. X minus 3 is equal to 4. X minus 3 is equal to negative 4. Now we're going to go ahead and solve for x. Add 3, add 3. X is equal to 7. X is equal to negative 1. So my x-intercepts are going to be negative 1, 0, 7, 0. My roots are going to be negative 1, 7. All right, let's look at the next one. So here we go. The first thing that we're going to do, step 1, zero pair c. So we're going to now write x squared plus 6x plus a line is equal to 16 plus a line. Now we're going to take half of the x squared term, which is going to be 3. Let's write our parentheses down here, squared. Okay, and now we're going to take that 3 and put a plus 3 here. And the x comes down because x squared will give us this x squared. Now we're going to take that 3 and we're going to square it. That's going to be 9. It's going to go into that line, and it's also going to come down here to this line. So now we're going to have 16 plus 9 is going to be 25. Again, we add the 9 on both sides because of brother-sister rule. We're adding a new value onto each side. Now we're going to square root both sides. So we're going to have x plus 3 is equal to positive negative 5. So we're going to take now x plus 3 is equal to positive negative 5 and break that down into two equations. X plus 3 is equal to positive 5. X plus 3 is equal to negative 5. Zero pair out the 3's. X is equal to 2. X is equal to negative 8. So the x-intercepts are going to be negative 8, 0, 2, 0. The roots are going to be negative 8 and 2. All right, now this one, the x squared term has to have a coefficient of 1. So we're going to have to divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. That's going to give us x squared plus 5x minus 1 is equal to 0. Now we can go ahead and start our solving. So we're going to zero pair out the c. So we're going to do plus 1, and then we're going to go ahead and write our equation. So it's going to be x squared plus 5x plus a line equals 1 plus a line, parentheses squared, and equal. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take half of the x squared term, which is going to be 2.5. We're going to put plus 2.5. And we're going to add our x in there because x squared gives us our x squared. Now we're going to go back up to the 2.5 and we're going to square it. And that's going to give us our 6.25. And of course, brother-sister rule says we're going to add 6.25 on both sides. So now it's going to be 7.25. Now I'm going to square root both sides. By square rooting it, that crosses out that x squared. So now we're going to have x plus 0.25 is equal to positive or negative 2.7. We rounded to the nearest tenth when we took the square root of 7.25. Now we're going to break this down into two equations. X plus 2.5 is equal to positive 2.7, and x plus 2.5 is equal to negative 2.7. We're going to go ahead and zero pair out the 2.5s. Zero pair out the 2.5. So we're going to have x is equal to 0.2 and x is equal to negative 5.2. So our x-intercepts are going to be negative 5.20 and 0.20. Our roots are going to be negative 5.2 and 0.2. All right? So now we have an x squared term that doesn't have a coefficient of 1. So we're going to divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. That's going to give us x squared plus 4x should be plus negative 4x plus 9 is equal to 0. We're going to go ahead and zero pair out the c's, so we're going to do minus 9 minus 9. So we're going to have x squared plus negative 4x plus a line equals negative 9 plus a line, and then our parentheses squared equals. We're going to take half of negative 4, which is going to be negative 2. I'm going to put my negative 2 in here, put my x in there, because remember that the x squared comes from the x being squared by the 2 outside the parentheses. Now I'm going to take negative 2 and square it, so I'm going to add 4 here, and I'm going to add 4 over here. So now I'm going to have negative 5. I'm going to square root both sides. Because I have a negative 5, I can't take the square root of a negative, so I have no solution, which means this graph does not touch the x-axis. And that's how you create or complete a square.